Hello to one, hello to all. In this episode, I will describe our journey to the West, purely from my memory. At least the events that my mind still allows me to recall. My parents, my two older brothers, and I made our way down to the coast of South China to meet up with our uncle. I can't remember which port or town it was, as I was too young to appreciate its significance at the time. It was a given that our mother wasn't going to travel with us. We met up with our uncle and spent a couple of days at the port while supplies were being purchased and loaded onto the boat. I was expecting all of my family members to travel in our uncle's boat. But for some strange reason, my father and my second brother ended up on a different one. I did not understand the reason until we reached Hong Kong, as you also will when we get to the end of this episode. The journey took about 7 days to complete, and I cannot give you a blow-by-blow of the events daily, as either my mind is trying to protect me still or my mind probably got shut down by the horror of the events. So I will just describe some of the significant unforgettable events that have been etched into my mind. I remember the day we set off was a nice, sunny and breezy one. I think there were about 300 people on our uncle's boat, and as it was a makeshift boat, there weren't many luxuries to enjoy. You can only sit or stand on one deck level. I remember there was very little space to move around the boat, as everywhere you turn, there are people trying to find a niche area to settle down for the journey ahead. Apart from the pleasant memories described in the above paragraph, the rest of what I can remember of the journey become very selective and spotty as the days roll by. First of all, keeping ourselves hydrated was a nightmare, as the person who was responsible for buying the stocks had next to no experience. We got only 2 types of liquid. One was fresh water and the other was cartons of sugarcane drinks. All the water we had was designated for preparing food at meal times, like boiling the rice. So, whenever we were thirsty, there was only one type of drink to go for. On the first day, our body was quite happy with this. But after that, as soon as the hand raises the drink to the mouth, the stomach starts to have an unnatural response, with the feeling of making you want to vomit. My elders told me to just pinch my nose and try hard to swallow, as there were no alternatives. After the first instance of pinching my nose, I think my mind shut down with recording hydration events. Do you know what it's like having to drink the same sweet liquid day in, day out, with your life depending on it? I have not tried sugarcane drinks since. I don't know how I would react to it. We were very much at the mercy of the weather. When it was sunny, it was very hot as we had no shade on the open deck. When it was raining and windy, we were very damp and cold. Also, the boat was very rocky, when there were storms in the open sea. At night, when I look out to the sea, everything is pitch black, and a lot of people were wondering if we were moving and even in the right direction. I can't remember how many days into the journey it was, but I heard some of the people in charge saying the boat's engine was totally dead. So we were floating around in the open sea for at least a day or two. Then, one day, some strangers boarded our boat, and a few hours later they left with one carrying a handkerchief wrapped with gold and jewelry. It was a payment for them to help us by towing the boat for the rest of the journey to Hong Kong. It was a very tense time for a couple of hours after they got off our boat. But everyone was over the moon when they kept their word. I can't remember much about the meals, so not sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I guess we must have had rice. Apart from that, my mind has blocked everything else. The next thing I can remember about food was when we got close to the Hong Kong harbour and saw some strange sliced white bread floating on water that must have been dropped by people from other boats that reached there before us. And I was thinking, what a waste of needed food. We made it to Hong Kong as our boat got towed there by the fishermen. And the closer we got to the ports, the more I realized there are so many other boats and people in front of us. Then I started to hear stories about people on boats that have not made it. Those people will probably never be seen again, as most likely case was their boat capsized in the storms and everyone went down with it. It was later on that we found out that the boat my father and my older brother were on also made it safely to Hong Kong. That's when I realized why we got split up. The journey was a numbers game. By splitting up, we double our chances of someone making it across. So, we got to Hong Kong safely, but exhausted and super grateful for still being alive. But how did we end up in the UK? I will leave that until the next episode, but let me just say this for now. Not until we were herded around like cattle between refugee camps.